example of how she was so, controlled and stuff like that, that she only responded to being hurt. And for those who are like, well, why didn't, especially Cassie, why did she try to leave? Well, every time she tried to leave, there was a Diddy security guard that dragged her back, and she ended up getting beaten again. Or her mom gets a phone call like, hey, I'm going to release a sex tape with your daughter if y'all don't give me money. And next thing you know, she had to pony up $20,000 or whatever it was. So, she really, so the prosecution really talked about all of those themes, as well as, talking about the sex workers and the crossing state lines and flying all over the country, which is transportation for the purposes of prostitution. Again, talking about the sex trafficking, and then also talked about the forced labor aspect as one of the predicates for RICO racketeering when talking about Mia, who was afraid to do anything. She was sexually assaulted by Diddy, and was like hit, and she also saw the violence that happened to Cassie. So I would say, based on, again, remember, there's no cameras in a courtroom. We're basically reading transcripts and notes from what comes out of court, but it seemed that the prosecution lip synced for their lives, as I kept saying, because again, this all comes down to closing arguments. And, while 5 hours was a long time, there's a lot to cover, and she had to make sure that the jury understood, each and every aspect and how each element of each charge was proven from her perspective. So there's that. So she finished up. The judge was like, okay, it's 5 p.m. Y'all go home, which was probably a good idea. And so tomorrow we're going to have the defense closing arguments, and then likely after that would be the judge giving the jury instructions, where he reads the law, he reads the elements of the crimes that they have to look at, gives them some guidance on how to deliberate and what they need to do, and then they'll begin deliberations. It's a Friday, so I don't know how much of that's going to happen. We're probably going to see more action on Monday. See you later. Bye. Bye.
So remember when I was saying that, we were saying that yesterday, the other day, was it yesterday? That it was just attempted, it was adjectives.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah. So, there you have it.
Yeah, what happened was, once again, clickbait. So you see TMC, you see Neighborhood Talk, you see the Shade Room, you see Hollywood Unlocked. The line that they put up top is these charges were dropped. So what you think happens? They come to Clubhouse, everybody spreads all the message around, oh, the charges is dropped, the charges is dropped, the charges is dropped. Then to find out, no, they were not dropped. But, yeah. Yeah, I need to be talking today because it's too early for y'all to be quiet.
It's what? 11, 12 o'clock at night. I'm surprised I even still up. I'm about to go take my ass to bed. I gotta go to work tomorrow.
So these people be arguing and yapping at this time. Yeah.
I'm usually muted and working.
Damn, I don't follow Trent or Infinity for some entertainment. Hold on. Yeah, I don't see Trent here. Nope.
What's up, y'all?
Okay, so I can share a new, I don't know, this will not bring me all, and I saved this from, a couple hours ago. This was on D.L. Hughley's Instagram, so I'm like, yeah. It says, from the Tehran Times, that Israeli plot to incite U.S.-Iran war foiled intelligence leak. And, yeah, so I didn't bring it up because I didn't double check to see if it's factual. But
I will say this though, there was a lot, and I mean a lot, of counterterrorism presence in New York today. Like, my office building was littered with counterterrorism Port Authority police officers. There was like National Guard down in every single subway station, so they was alert for something because it was. I've never seen it that packed with police and counterterrorism and National Guard, like some National Guard troops.
There's been a lot of cyber attacks. It's up like by hundreds of percentages. We lost our power too here. So,
Oh shit, for real?
yeah, but it's not. I'm not confirming any cyber attack, but I don't know why the power would have failed like that. It came back up down in about 30, 40 minutes.
Shit. Well, we'll find out.
But the whole world's on alert though, right? Because it's official, not official, but they are Iranian terrorist groups like the Mysterious Team and some other ones. They've all declared cyber war on America.
Yeah. Thank you, Donald Trump, man. Honestly, greatest president ever. Keeping us safe.
Who the fuck just said that? Oh, Lord.
He's being
I don't know if he's being smart or, we got another MAG on the stage. You never know.
Wait. You mean you don't love 47? Hey, look, 4 more years, third term.
I don't love 45 or 47. Yeah.
So you don't like niggas ballooning deficit. What's wrong with you?
I don't like him.
You don't like racism?
I don't like him. He's too orange. He's pink and orange. Yeah.
Oh, this is that white genocide he was talking about.
And then he got a toupee on his head. I don't like that. And then they said he got a diaper, and sometimes he got a catheter. Like,
He's taking a dump in front of a live audience. That shit is crazy. It's like a cartoon, but it's real life. This is insane.
I be like, with Trump, I'm like, is somebody punking me? Like, Ashton Kutcher, can you come out and, like, get this man out of here? Because this shit?
That's the most elaborate episode of Punk ever. We punked the nation. We'll be alright. He gonna do some crazy shit until midterms, and then we gonna come in and undo it. I'm more concerned about when the next blue wave comes, we gotta make sure they focus on black issues. We gotta have bills on AOC desk, and she gonna be leading the charge. So we can't get forgotten.
I don't know about AOC, but yeah.
What are some black issues you want to test?
Honestly, I want some relief for Haiti. I feel like we overlook Haiti and we just let them play in Haiti face, which is crazy because as Black Americans, we should love Haiti. Haiti is the only black republic in North America. What the fuck? Like, don't get me wrong, we got Jamaica and Trinidad and shit, because this is like the only one that genuinely fought for its independence. I think we need more trade deals with black and brown countries in South America, but specifically black dominated ones. Because I think too often we're focused on like getting tools of stabilization so that we can continue to live in America. That's cool and all good. But honestly, like, if we got an island full of black people, why the fuck? I don't know. I feel like sometimes the focus should be elsewhere.
Well, what about domestically? Like, that's great for international trade, and I do agree international trade is very important, but like...
Domestically, so like we gotta reform education. It can't be based on zip code. That's just scandalous. We gotta reform the way teachers are paid because they need to be compensated for performance. So the better their students perform, the better they get paid. And also they gotta have some kind of like student review. So it's not just, are the grades good? Do the students even like you? Simple shit. They act like it's so complicated, but it's really that basic, and that would overhaul education right there. Make it merit-based, like everything else in that.
So you said black issues, but you want a merit-based education system? Not just
Merit-based compensation platform for the educators. So in other words, you don't get to come in and blame the students. You're fired.
Okay, so you think the problem with education system right now is not qualified teachers? Or not? That's what you think the problem is? You don't think that the problem is that we don't give the teachers the resources they need to supply the students?
Yeah, that is the second one. They don't get the resources. It doesn't it doesn't incentivize or reward good teachers.
You know, one thing that's really the case in education is that there's not a lot of tight coupling with curriculum and standards across districts. And then also one thing that missed the ball on STEM is that things like computer science was not mandatory, as well as incorporating modern tools like data analysis and stuff into the core subjects.
Exactly, yes.
Alright, so I would challenge y'all to go to the next PTA meeting in a local school district in your area and go to these things like that. Because,
I'm a teacher.
You say you're a teacher?
Yeah, I teach STEM as well. I've been teaching.
Yeah, well, I'm saying this. Let me finish. Because one thing that we're not going to do is make it as like attack teachers are doing the best they possibly can do. Even teachers in the state schools as well. What we need to do, I do agree, like with the education system, is give them better resources, right? Give them the tools to success. Make it more accessible for them to be able to get it. Most of these teachers buy their own stuff, own their own materials outside the classroom, right? If you do have just one disruptive, let's just say kids, right? Look at how the schools handle classroom disruption, right? Like how's that possibly handled, right? What's the resources there that actually back up these teachers and have the success as well? Also too as well, it's not just the teacher's responsibility for the development of children. The parents have to be involved as well. And no matter how great a teacher can be, if the parents is not helping assisting in their development, it's not going to help out at all. They only got a certain amount of time, right? Only got 6 hours? The rest of the time they're home. And so we have to create it's a support system, right? In both ways, and that's with resources. Nothing more offensive to me than sit here and say that teachers need to be paid off for their merit. That is.
I think you understand what I was saying. So here's
No, I do understand what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I listen very. No. You can say. No. You can say no. Let me finish. Y'all cannot. Okay. Y'all cannot. No. You and Olive cannot possibly understand what I'm saying. Y'all are talking over me as I'm speaking. I get it. Y'all want to be right. No, listen. Okay, give me how to fucking count. Learn how to do. Hold on. Shut the fuck up.
No, Alex, let him finish.
Both y'all. Y'all yapping over me right now.
Shut the fuck up.
Yes, shut the fuck up. Because you talking over me. I don't got time to
Lower your ass.
That's what fucking self-control.
You shut the fuck up, okay?
Damn, you shut the fuck up. Take your Shut the fuck up 5 seconds. Yeah, nigga. Oh, now you want to be tough. Now you tough. Now you big man. Now you big, right? Now you big, right? Now you fucking big, right? Now you big, right? I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know the fucking rule, bro. Because the fact that you backing this fuck up is the problem.
You shut it down.
The fact that you backing this fuck up is the problem.
You really don't know me. You really don't know.
That's the problem. Because y'all motherfuckers, all y'all want to do is fucking talk. All y'all want to do is talk. I don't fucking listen. No, y'all don't listen. No, you did not. You did not fucking listen to me. So you listen to me, right?
What are you talking about?
When I say, hey, let me fucking finish, you don't let me fucking finish.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. You got it. You got it.
Okay,
Kurt, go ahead and fucking Kurt. Go ahead, Kurt. You got it. You got it.
Tell
You
them the
got it.
truth.
Go ahead.
What you want,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Run your fucking mouth. Go ahead. Run your fucking mouth.
Truth, what are you doing?
That's the fucking problem.
Okay, so what I said addressed the systemic issues. I was talking about addressing across district issues. I was not targeting teachers, nor am I targeting families, nor am I targeting the students themselves. I'm targeting normalizing some standards so that there's a lot of other things as well. Okay? So whatever you're doing, you should deflect it away from me. All right?
So this is why you don't fucking listen. Because I was addressing what Truth said. Truth himself said. Truth said. No, listen. Truth said that
Now
he
he's gonna
very
tell you what I said
No,
when I was
Truth said.
I know what you said.
Okay, so I'm addressing that. No,
Just for
I
the
was
record,
addressing that. No, I was addressing that. I was addressing that. You felt the need to open your fucking mouth and insert yourself in the conversation. That was you about.
You better get it together, brother.
No, I can get it exactly how it is. No,
Get it together.
all the fucking
You don't even know
and I got the
you don't know what you're talking about, and you just raging right now.
No, because I was talking
You know what I'm saying? You raging in action right now.
Me and Truth was talking
I'm
about.
not listening to you. What I got to listen to?
You
You don't know
injected
shit.
into something that you
You don't
didn't
know shit.
You argue about something totally different. So you gonna laugh at this? You gonna laugh at the little fucking cat who little bitch you want to be? But you was trying to have a conversation.
You don't got no experience. You don't got no
No, because this is what happens.
Okay.
Come over your fucking mom, bitch.
Okay. This
You
is
want me to
working. All
I'm gonna
right.
answer you if you cut me off.
So I don't know why HK and Aleph are arguing, because from listening to the conversation, we were saying the same thing. I don't know why y'all
Thank you.
The person, hold on, everybody go on mute, go on mute. Thank you.
choke on yourself?
Aleph, go on mute, you too, because then he gonna start, and we got to put the end on this. Okay, so the thing was, the conversation, we're trying to recalibrate, because it's an interesting conversation, so let's just try to recalibrate. So the issue was educational reform. Now, Truth, I was with you until you started talking about let the students evaluate the teachers. And here's why I think that doesn't work. Oftentimes, those evaluations are very subjective, and they're dependent upon how the student thinks that they're going to do in the class and how much they think they like the teacher. And as the teacher, those kind of evaluations are not helpful. And one of the things we've learned about that level of evaluation is that there's all kinds of biases that are built into the way students evaluate teachers. So I was with you until you said that part. Now, to Aleph's point about the cross-district curriculum, one of the things I've been advocating for all of my life is that American educational standards need to be national standards. There should not be an instance where a kid in Texas in the 8th grade is reading a book that a kid in New York in the 7th grade was reading. Like, that should not be. We need to standardize the levels. And then that goes to HK's point, which is about the resources. Now we are dealing with no Department of Education, so what resources from where? But there needed to be a sort of national investment in educating our children. And that involves educating parents, because we are dealing with a generation of parents in the main, not 100%, but in the main, are separated from their children's education. Education is where the children go, right? They get the learning at school.
and not a lot of that stuff is happening in the home, so we need to sort of recalibrate that. So that's where the conversation was before it went off the rails, and so I'd like to pick it up right there without revisiting any of the past disagreements. Thank you.
So I'm gonna say this. Even here in New York, in the city, so I'm on the point. So we have districts, and in districts, even in certain districts, it's the same thing, like what you're saying, Dr. A.G. Like districts, the districts here and there, they separate component. They separate how things are done. Like certain schools have certain districts are poor, so the books and stuff and the everything that's I'm thinking when I'm talking everything that's there for the students, it's piss poor. If you're like in a middle class district or a very rich district like in Manhattan, a certain parts of the boroughs, it's money's poured into the schools, the school district. You understand? So it's the same thing here, and I'm very sure like that around other cities in the United States of America. And a lot of people, I finished high school, I started high school in my country. I finished high school in New York City. You know, and anybody that went to school in New York City know what I'm talking about. You know, it's still like that. You know, it's unfortunate. But what they did is they opened up like 3 schools now in one high school. So the separation is still, it's wild. It's really wild. It's not just a nationwide thing, it's even happening in towns and cities as well, unfortunately.
I'm seeing that one of the big, I call them voids or chasms that we need to cross is what happens when kids get out of school and when parents come home from work, or even when the parents aren't even home till late or not present hardly at all. So a lot of times in the Bay Area, the way that's captured is their after-school programs. You know, they're enrichment programs, and they're very effective. They've been very successful. They've been expanded nationally. I work with a lot of them, Black Girls Code, Engineers Program, and several others that are on national level. But not all students can do that. And another issue that's faced in Oakland, because some areas of Oakland are federal, they call them federal zones. It's kind of like stop and frisk. They can just stop you. It's kind of dangerous for the kids to walk home or even to catch the bus home. For instance, one time a kid, we were in one of our programs, he had the death from 2 gunshots that we heard, you know, so it's pretty bad. So we were trying to negotiate with Uber to help kids that are in after school programs get home just to solve the problem. That doesn't like.
This is why we have the problem we have with charter schools and school of choice now, right? The biggest issue is when we have these conversations, one, we make it seem like there's only one answer, but it's not. It's a multifaceted issue. It's the biggest issue of all. It's also probably one of the most important issues because nothing's more important in our future, the education of our children, right? The rise of charter schools, we'll talk to people like you spoke to, I'll speak for Pennsylvania by itself, right? There was a sudden rise in private and charter schools in the past couple of decades. Why is that? It's because people had the illusion that it was all about the teacher's merit, that the students wasn't being taught enough, right? And the charter schools came with the campaign and the messaging that they can bring in better education to the school, to the area. They can bring in better teachers to the area because they have the money, you know, because better money, we pay them better, we get this thing here, right? Everything's merit based. Our teachers are, you know, go off a merit system. If they're not performing well, we get rid of them. And you've seen a sudden rise in charter schools all over Pennsylvania. And then what's Pennsylvania suffering with now? The same thing they were suffering with before, where these charter schools are misusing funds, They're not teaching. They're not teaching the students. They're bypassing a plethora of health violations, right? Because of this notion that the teachers aren't good enough unless their job is in jeopardy every single time. That is not a resource issue. It's not a support issue. It's a that's dangerous. That's a dangerous mindset. And I'm always going to challenge that dangerous mindset because I see teachers every day doing the best they possibly can do. I work, I come from a family of teachers who've done what they possibly can do, everything possibly can do, right? We're principals every day who try to do the things they can possibly do. And we have to start looking at this in a support mindset, not in this. We're treating them like we're evaluating a store or a restaurant or a CEO where it's like, well, they gotta perform better, they gotta do more. No, we gotta find a way to be able to support these teachers. That's the thing, that's the problem. And when we have these conversations about education, it's never about support. It's always about what the teachers are doing wrong. How we gotta find a way to whip them better into shape. Have them be evaluated more. They're constantly evaluated. They constantly got to go for recertification. They constantly got to do sit-ins with the superintendent. They constantly have the board members sit on there. The last thing they need to do is have another person checking them off, trying to check them off. That's why you had like the mass cheating you had. Like support. At the end of the day, the teachers need more support.
So another thing that we're doing, and I think that is happening around the world, if not just the country, is that we're building these. Google during COVID gave all the kids PCs. Google Chromebooks, right? But they're very low performance. So what we did was we adapted Lambda so that it could run those Chromebooks. So now every kid can have their own LLM AI, and they can have their own stable diffusion system. These are different AI generators that can generate images, videos, and books, as well as comic books. And then they can use that to develop their literacy as well as their computer literacy. They already have those resources at the home, but then that comes to what is the training for the teacher, which is now the next challenge. So I think that another thing that has been a challenge has been the well, I'll come back to it. I'll just let this.
This is my answer. In my journey, a little bit about the study that just came out of Sweden that is just so funny. The news is buzzing.
Two parts have been a challenge, right? And that's been kids not only finishing high school and also doing well when they finish high school, but also when they get to college, increasing the yield there, so that not only do they graduate from college, they have a really great chance of mentorship and internship. So what some of the successful paths there that we want to do is that we have, like the summer programs where you stay at the universities like Harvard, Yale, MIT. We also have a program at Stanford and UC Berkeley. So that helps the students get familiar with the cultures of education, higher education, which they transplant back to school and it migrates across all the students. They look up to that. Seeing a model of a great performing student helps the entire student body to start being aware of themselves and having pride in themselves. Now next, when they get to college, they overcome some of the cultural challenges there. And finally, some of these programs like the one I'm involved in with EA Games has Spawn Point. And what that does is it helps kids through college. You can get internships during the summer, which helps you to work in the tech industry. And then finally, you have a crack at getting a job at EA or the rest of the game industry or even the tech industry. So that's not the only programs out there. There's a lot of good ones out there, but there definitely needs to be a good conference that brings all these different approaches together and more talks like these.
sorry, I was distracted by the
Troll.
by the chat. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was distracted. Yeah. I mean, reforming education it carries a lot. It's like what you were just saying. It's community. Yeah, we gotta start with. It gotta start with the parents. How they prepare the children for school, what they expect for school. And I wrote this in the chat when you were talking about the after school programs. And the after school programs were supposed to take up the time, right? Like they were supposed to fill in. Because if I'm not mistaken, those were a part of the welfare to work, right? Because the moms had to go to work off of welfare. And so these after school programs became like a filler for the time between 2 and 5 when people get off work. 2, they average out for school, and then 5, the lockout time for work. But anyway, so now they cutting those, that's cut back. So yeah, I don't know, it's a big problem. And when people just throw out, yeah, we should do this, we should do that, we have to have, how do they say when they're talking about war, win the hearts and minds? Yeah, we gotta get the hearts in the right place, get people to care about the children. They need some Wu-Tang in their life, because Wu-Tang is for the children.
As well as gradualism, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be incremental because there's going to be some parts that go straight, or don't work quite right. And what happened with Job Corps? That was, a great platform to improve. Well, I shouldn't probably overstate,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not there anymore. So
I think it was a series of things. Like, I think it was not enough resource management, not enough resources, and then management. I think it was a lot of things, but cutting it is going to be terrible.
right now,
That was a really good program.
It was a really good program. And right now, programs need to be so defensive, That's why, in conservative, too. They can't, because I taught at a private school, a charter school for 7 years. And that was very interesting because it was a very dynamic, design thinking driven school. That's a methodology out of Stanford that was used to make like iPhones and stuff. The head of the school applied it to education for 6 through 12. And it was a phenomenal idea. It had some issues with implementation, but it definitely worked. But the problem with this school was that it wasn't able to overcome the competition with the district, right? Because when the money doesn't go to, the money that was going to the charter school did not go to the district anymore.
Yeah, the downfall of public education started with that homeschool, all those homeschool initiatives, because that homeschooling was in the main about people who didn't want their children going to school with black people.
Good luck.
It's a backlash against public education, huh?
Do you think that $10,000, with the footprint that they're trying to give it, is going to solve America's education system or make it better?
What is the $10,000? I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Wasn't there like a child education credit or something like that?
Oh yeah, they take the $10,000 and they can take it to whatever school. Yeah, they gonna realize that the $10,000 is not enough, and it's not gonna have the ROI they looking for.
So they're gonna hear.
I mean, I do think our cost, like the amount that we invest per child, I do think it's like, what the hell? But
yeah, like have people thought about the accumulation of pool of wealth, how a pool of money is more powerful than just your own pocket.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
we're in the world of individualism. It's me. Like how Matt say, give the parents the money and let them figure out like how to do it. And I'm like, ooh, Lord, the children gonna be dumb as dumb. Ooh.
Get the parents the money and let them figure it out.
Yeah. Exactly.
It gets some oxygen. Jeez.
The children gonna come out just like that. Straight like.
Oh my goodness.
I think one of the problems is how expensive college has gotten because we don't teach critical thinking in high school as much as in college. And back in the day, that was okay because college was relatively inexpensive. But now, since college is so expensive, people aren't getting that critical thinking skills. The actual education model of the U.S. is the same as the Prussian model of the late 1880s, I think, and it was designed to create good workers, and good workers are also good consumers, and good consumers and good workers are people who don't think critically. They take in, memorize, and regurgitate. And so, I think that one of the biggest things you're talking about, community, I think somehow teaching your community how to critically think could do wonders.
Yeah, and I get that, but I would argue that that's a shift, right? Because when I was in school, we learned the things that students come to college with now. It's shocking. The level of just poor reading comprehension, right? My niece, who's 12, has better reading comprehension than some of the college students that I see. And I blame that on No Child Left Behind. I think that is I think that the erosion is recent. I think that there used to be an emphasis on critical thinking in K through 12, and it was gradual. Children in third grade don't do problem solving anymore, right? Where I remember when my niece was in the third grade and she would come home with her homework and there were puzzle pieces, you had to figure these, you did these logic things, what's the next shape that goes here, or figure out this sequence. They don't do that kind of stuff anymore. Everything is rote learning now. And so that's a recent thing. I don't think that our education system has always functioned that way. I agree that there were the mechanized sort of tracks. I do agree with that because I remember being in school and my parents were very much anti-tracking. But the way that it functions now, yeah, I blame that on No Child Left Behind.
Well, I think that definitely accelerated it greatly. But I think when I'm talking about critical thinking, I'm talking about being able to analyze the information that's coming, find the sources, determine the quality of the sources, determine, the argument based on the quality of the sources, that kind of critical thinking. And with the exception of AP or BI stuff in high school, you just generally didn't get that. I think in general high school, you don't really get that kind of in-depth critical thinking. That's kind of reserved for college.
No, what I'm saying to you is I think there was a time when you used to get that in high school. And in college, you got the foundation for it in high school, right? Where you learned basic argumentative structure and you learned how to research, right? Like you did research projects. I remember when I was in school, I had research projects all the way like from the 7th grade. We would have to read poems, and then you have to go and you have to do the history of the writer, and then you write like a report on it. And then when I got into high school, it was more critical than just basically reporting. Then you had to interpret things. But yeah, we graduated into critical thinking before college, but they do not do that anymore. I agree with you. And when students get to college, if they're going to be like remediated, there's space for that. But that's the disconnect, because many of us in university, many of us aren't aware of the deficiencies in K through 12, right? Like we're thinking, here these students, in these AP classes, they take these AP tests, they have these high SAT scores. We're thinking that means something. And when you sit them down to really problem solve, you realize that it doesn't mean anything. Those numbers don't mean anything. So there's that level of disconnect as well. I'm sorry, I left.
Oh no, I think that both of you guys are touching upon something that, hasn't really been brought to light as clearly as it should. And that perhaps one element of the solution is tools that help people incrementally solve, get to that point, right? Michael, I see that you're a board game fan, and probably perhaps a fan of gamification. Do you think gamification would help in education?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. It depends on what you're gamifying and what you're using it for. I actually have a board game called Cytosis, which is a worker placement game inside the human cell, and it's actually used in science classrooms because it's such a well done board game. So yeah, it definitely has.
Is that your own design?
No.
Okay.
So I started reading.
I was saying that this stuff is pretty cool, especially using games to teach people even basic stuff, like even hooked on phonics. Even one of my friends, when they were younger, they used that. But even in special education, there was different ways of teaching people different things. I know for me, I didn't have problems really in school with comprehending anything. My stuff was more vision related for reading and stuff like that. But the biggest thing I would say is missing is comprehension. A lot of people, they don't understand what they're reading. I was fortunate because I was an audible learner. That means I can listen to something and then go do that. Whereas some people, they would listen to it and have to play it over and over again or whatever. I didn't have to do that. So I think people learn differently. Public school, also would give me opportunities. I would say that private schools did not have to give you such as, things dealing with special education or whatever the case may be. Even nowadays, these tests that people take, they mean nothing. That's why the state of Texas is looking at getting rid of these tests that kids.
That's for sure. They're gonna have, like a lot of shit to talk. That being said, if it's unsafe, close it fucking down. We can go around it. It takes about 5 more minutes, but, we can go around the bridge.
Yeah, you gotta run for office.